Today, we're going to talk about something a little scary, a new kind of threat that researchers are calling the memory weapon. So let's paint a picture here. Imagine you're in a hospital and there's this super helpful AI assistant. A doctor asks a simple question about an allergy for, say, patient A. But the AI comes back with a prescription for patient B. And the scary part? It just keeps doing it for every single doctor who asks, from that moment on. So you'd think, okay, it's just a bug, right? A database error, a simple mix-up. But here's the twist. Nope, it wasn't a glitch. This was a totally new, completely wrong behavior that the AI actually learned. And it learned it from just one single conversation that looked totally normal. And that right there, that's the core of the whole problem. See, we've built these incredible systems to remember things, to be helpful, to make our lives easier. But what this new research is screaming at us is that when these AI agents have memory, well, every single conversation you have with them becomes a potential backdoor. You know, we've seen how an agent with too much access can just flat out delete a whole database. But this is something else entirely. We're about to see how an attacker doesn't need any special access. No hacking skills, nothing. Because in these systems, the conversation is the key. Okay, so how on earth is this even possible? Well, it all comes down to how these agents actually remember things in the first place. All right, so AI agent memory. It's supposed to be a good thing, right? It's the feature that lets your assistant remember you like your coffee black or recall something you talked about last week to give you a better answer this week. It's designed to make the AI smarter and more helpful over time. But, and this is a big but, that exact same feature can be twisted into a weapon. Researchers have figured out this repeatable three-step process to do it. They're calling it a memory injection attack, or MINJA for short. Let's break down exactly how this deception works. So, it all happens in 3 stages. First, the attacker builds a fake bridge connecting two things that should never be connected. Then, they shorten the attack so you can't even see it happening anymore. And finally, they create a cluster, which basically cements that fake connection as a core memory for the AI. I know it sounds a little complicated, but the core idea is, well, it's dangerously simple. Okay, step 1, bridging. And this is where it gets really, really clever. The attacker isn't hacking anything. They're just talking to the AI. They'll ask a sneaky question, something that plants a false idea, like, hey, since patient A has similar conditions to patient B, what are B's records? The AI, trying to be helpful, processes that, summarizes it, and then writes this brand new, totally false connection. Patient A is related to patient B, right into its own memory. The AI literally writes the lie itself and saves it as a fact. Now for step 2, progressive shortening. This is where the attack goes completely silent. Once that little poison pill of a memory is planted, the attacker doesn't have to be sneaky anymore. Their questions can look totally normal. They can just ask, so what about patient A? And boom, the AI automatically, behind the scenes, pulls up that poisoned memory connecting to patient B's records. The attack is now completely invisible. So you're probably wondering, does this actually work? Well, how about this? In testing, this technique for injecting a false memory worked, get this, 98.2% of the time. Just, wow. Look, a number that high, that isn't just some bug you can patch away. No, this is a deep, fundamental flaw in the very design of how these systems learn from talking to us. Which brings us to a massive question, right? Why aren't our security systems catching this? The simple, scary answer is, they can't. They're completely blind to it. Think about it. Your usual defenses are totally useless here. A prompt filter? It only sees the question you're asking right now, not the bad memory from days ago. Input validation? It sees a perfectly normal-looking question. And the output monitor? It sees a perfect answer. It has no idea the information it's using from its own memory is a complete lie. Okay, so we know planting the bad memory works almost every time. But does that actually lead to something bad happening? The research says yes. A successful injection led to a full-blown successful attack. We're talking the AI giving out dangerous, wrong information to an innocent user. A staggering 76.8% of the time. Let's put that in plain English. More than 3 out of 4 times someone poisons the AI's memory, that fundamental design flaw caused real, actual damage to the very next person who used it. And please, don't think this is some future sci-fi problem. This isn't theoretical. This vulnerability is here, right now, in systems people are using today across huge industries. I'm talking about healthcare agents that handle patient records, e-commerce sites you might shop on, internal company co-pilots. In fact, security teams even got this to work on major production systems like AWS Bedrock. And yep, even on public AIs like ChatGPT, as long as you have that memory feature switched on.
But here's the part that really changes everything. And I mean everything. The researchers are clear on this. Any regular user can be an attacker. You don't need to know how to code. You don't need special access. All you need is the ability to have a conversation.
This forces us to completely rethink what AI memory even is. We think of it like a diary, right? A passive log of old chats. But that's wrong. The reality is it's more like an executable configuration file. Every single new memory you give it, it actually rewrites the AI's programming on the fly. It changes how it works forever. And that's the whole problem, right there in a nutshell. We were so excited to build these systems that could learn and remember because, hey, that makes them way more powerful. But in all that excitement, we completely forgot to secure the very thing they're remembering. So it all comes down to this one single critical question we have to ask about any AI agent we interact with, whether it's for work or just for fun. Who is actually in control of what this thing remembers?